Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Yogi Fuel YouTube channel. Welcome back to the Yogi Fuel podcast, wherever you're listening to this. I am your host, Mel, and I'm super excited to bring you today's topic of conversation because Lord knows it is the wisdom that I'm needing and sort of moving through in my own life. And so very happy to, bring you in on my own process around how I'm navigating this. So first of all, if you are brand new here, I just want to welcome you and introduce myself. My name is Mel. I am an Ayurvedic counselor, a kinesiologist, and I am a nervous system coach. I've been in this work for over 15 years. And what I do is I integrate the beautiful ancient wisdom of Ayurveda with modern science to really create a truly comprehensive path for deep integrated multidimensional nervous system healing. And so if you are a yoga teacher, a holistic coach, a wellness professional of any sort, or just a person who is wanting to deeply regulate your nervous system and maybe teach and guide and support others, this is the channel for you. And if you want to get alerted whenever we post new videos, which will be every Wednesday, go ahead and click that subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. So the topic for today's video, which you can see from the title, is how do we navigate showing up powerfully for our clients, for our students, in our jobs, in our businesses when we are going through our own challenges, when life is feeling like super overwhelming, when we're really in the thick of it, when we're really going through it? How do we do both? How do we show up for ourselves? How do we support ourselves without just totally wanting to burn down, our business or totally wanting to just like quit our jobs? And, how do we navigate that delicate balance between the overwhelm that we might be experiencing in our lives and, still being able to show up powerfully for our students, for our clients, and for our business? Now, the very first thing that we want to do is we want to humanize ourselves. Okay. I think that sometimes when we are in the space of wellness, or you're a healer, or you're a coach, or you're a practitioner, you're a yoga teacher, and you're in the realm of holding space for other people, you're in that healing space, right? Your job is to support and help others. Sometimes we have this unrealistic expectation of ourselves that we should always have it together 100% of the time. We should never feel dysregulated ever. We should never feel anxiety ever. We should have it totally. We should be totally healed. We should be completely 100% totally healed. And I am here to tell you that healing is a verb, not a noun. I feel like I accidentally created a really dope saying, which is healing is a verb, not a noun, and people are loving it. So I think I'm just going to keep going with it. But I really want to anchor this in. Just because you are a yoga teacher, or you're a coach, or a holistic practitioner, even if you've been doing those things and doing your own practice and in this work for 20 years, there is still going to be more healing to do. It doesn't just stop. It's not somewhere we arrive. It's not some destination. It is an evolutionary, ongoing practice. It is a verb, not a noun. It's not a place that we get to and we arrive and we just sit there. It's something that we are in the constant practice of. And so, what I want you to first and foremost do is humanize yourself. Give yourself a little bit of grace to say, hey, I'm also a human. And it is totally normal for me to be going through X, Y, and Z, this, big, maybe stressful event that's happening in your life. It's okay. Given the context of all of that, it makes absolute sense that I'm feeling overwhelmed and that I feel like, whoa, this is a lot. You are a human being. You are susceptible to the stresses and the overwhelm that happened in life. And it's really important. One of the things that we say in nervous system work is so much of the journey of healing is about making the implicit feelings explicit and creating and giving it meaning and context. So, what I mean by that is, let's say you are going through something really big in your life, really difficult, really challenging. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you're feeling constantly overwhelmed by stuff that's happening at home. Maybe there's a big move. Maybe you're going through a divorce. Maybe you are, struggling in your relationships outside of work. There's a lot of stuff that's happening for you. And you might have this felt sense or experience in your body of anxiety, of overwhelm, of just like, maybe it's a sort of contracted feeling. Sometimes we don't associate that feeling with an emotion or an experience. We just think, oh man, I feel so stressed. But actually, when we become present to the physical sensations that are happening in our body, we're like, oh, okay, I'm feeling stress. I'm noticing that it's feeling, really tight in my chest, or, oh, I feel like knots in my stomach. We bring awareness to that. Then we give it meaning and context. Okay, these sensations mean, yeah, I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed right now. Context, look at all of the things that I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with this and this and this and this thing is going on, and I'm running this business, and I'm showing up for people and my clients, and I have children, and I'm doing this. Of course you feel that way. In my experience, so much of navigating the nervous system and supporting and nourishing our nervous system and I don't want to say overcoming anxiety because I actually don't think that one totally overcomes anxiety. Again, healing anxiety is a verb, not a noun. I do not believe that anybody in this life will ever get rid of anxiety. Let me just name this right now. Anxiety is an evolutionary response to a perceived threat. So we actually do need that response to tell us, whoa, hey, wait, there's danger going on here. It's actually information that we're getting that, hey, something's off. Hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. So I do not believe that we ever just totally get rid of anxiety. And anybody who tells you that you're never going to experience anxiety again, I do not believe that to be true. But we can nourish our nervous system. We can support ourselves in such a way that anxiety doesn't completely take us over. Where I can notice a moment of, oh, okay, I'm feeling kind of anxious. I'm feeling really stressed out. I bring that to my awareness and I give it meaning and context. Oh, look at what I'm going through. And look at these, everything else I'm trying to do here. It makes sense that I feel that way. So much of this journey, I guess what I'm trying to say is so much of this journey is about making sense of our experience. When we're able to make sense of our experience, then we can take steps toward healing. Then we can take steps toward moving forward. It's when the journey or when our experience feels like we don't understand, right? When we are not aware of what's happening and why it's happening, and we just are flooded with all these emotions and sensations, this is when we get stuck in spaces of dysregulation. So, the very first thing that I want you to do, if you're noticing that you're feeling stress or overwhelm or anxiety, tap into your body, tap into your felt scent. Well, actually, no. First of all, the first thing you're going to do is give yourself grace and be human, okay? You do not have to be some perfect person all of the time. You are allowed to feel stress and anxiety. Then tap into your physical sensations. Get present to what are the actual emotions I'm experiencing. Is it stress? Is there anxiety? Is there fear? What does that feel like in my body? And let's bring awareness to that. Okay. I do want to also name that we want to do this in a safe space. We want to be resourced beforehand. Again, that's a little bit beyond the scope of this. So actually, please just note that if you're doing any of this on your own, make sure that you're resourced. Make sure that you have something or someone on call that can support you if tuning into those sensations gets to be too much. But becoming aware of what is happening in our body and giving it meaning and context so that what we are experiencing makes sense is one of the most important things that we can do. Now, the next thing that I want to name is that so often in our lives, I think that if you are here and you are watching this video, there is this part of you that wants to level up, right? Take your life to the next level, take your practice to the next level. You want to maybe go deeper in your wisdom as a practitioner. You want to heal your nervous system so you can get to the next level, right? This is, big talk in the, personal development world. And I had this realization the other day. We all talk about wanting to get to the next level, but I don't think many of us really understand what that means. And the analogy that came through for me was if you're playing Super Mario Brothers, okay, and you're at level one, and we're doing level one and we're going through level one, and then you're like, man, I really want to beat this level so I can get to the next level. Well, what happens at that next level? Is that next level the same level of difficulty, or is it actually a little bit harder? It's a little bit harder because that's the point of the next level. And so, in our lives, in our business, in our relationships, when we say, oh my God, universe, I want to take things to the next level, it's like, okay, I'll help you level up. But what y'all need to realize is that at that next level come next level challenges that we then, and part of the purpose of nervous system healing is actually expanding our capacity. And I'll go over this in a different video, but the point of nervous system healing is not to be comfortable all of the time. It's not to make our life in this like perfect little box where we're never met with triggers or we're never met with discomfort or we're never met with any of these things. It's actually to expand our capacity and our resiliency to be able to handle that next level. And so what happens in Super Mario Brothers, you're like do 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 do, you're going through the first level and then you get to the next level and initially it is a little bit hard. Oh dang, I haven't faced this thing yet, and you gotta, I don't even remember what the second level is, but there's those little mushrooms and you gotta, and little guys that you gotta like squash on. I forget what really happens in Super Mario Brothers. It's been like 20 years, but you know what I mean? It's a new level, it's unfamiliar. It feels like it's a lot, but what happens is the more that you practice, the more that you keep playing at that level, you get better. Your ability to meet Super Mario Brothers level 2, it expands. You actually expand your capacity to handle the second level. And over time, if you keep going, you keep expanding, and eventually you beat that like boss at the end and you get to level 3, right? This is literally how it works in real life. So if you're saying to yourself, man, I want to hit that next level in my business, I want to get to the next level in my own, as a practitioner, right? Many of the people right now, all of us inside of the Integrative Ayurveda Practitioner certification, we're all like, whoa, we're all going through a lot of things right now, okay? And it's not a surprise to me because when you take a step and you do, a certification or you do, a business mentorship and you say to yourself, I want to get to that next level, the universe is like, okay, I'm going to meet you there and I'm going to give you what you need to get there. And what we need to do from a nervous system perspective is understand that we need to, at this step, expand our capacity to hold and meet that next level. So just know that right now, if you are experiencing a lot, you're going through a lot, and you've said to the universe, I want to level up in my life and my business. I want to, I want more. I want to grow in my business. I want to go in my practice. This is a part of it. And for me, it's been very powerful to say, okay, to reframe, okay, I'm not going to look at this as overwhelm. I will also name that I'm not perfect at this. Absolutely, there are times that I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed, but I'm able to catch myself at some point and say, no, this is an opportunity for me to expand my capacity to hold and to expand my capacity to be in this next level. That's a very, very important reframe. Okay, so now the question becomes, what do we actually do about it? Now that we are aware, okay, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. There's a lot going on in my life. Cool. I've normalized it. I've humanized myself. I've realized it's a part of the level up. Great. That's all wonderful to be aware of, but what do I actually do about it, right? Because we don't want to stay stuck in that space forever. So, one of the first things I would actually say is if you feel like this is something that is persistent and it's been lasting for months and months, it may be an invitation for you to explore, am I taking on too much? Do I actually have the capacity for this? Because I did just say that we want to expand our capacity, but we want to do it in tolerable steps. We don't just want to go from zero to like, I'm holding the universe in the palm of my hands, right? Like, we don't want to go that quickly necessarily. So, you want to evaluate, is the way that I'm showing up, is what I'm doing, is it actually in integrity? Do I actually have the capacity for it? And you can make shifts that way. Now, the other thing that we want to do really in these times, especially when you're in the thick of it, especially, in honoring that oftentimes this is a season. So in the seasons where we're feeling more overwhelmed, we've taken on a lot, we're in that like level up, you really want to anchor into and root into your personal self-care practices. You really need to focus on filling your cup, supporting and nourishing your body, really doing what you need to do to keep your physiology, to keep your mind, to keep your subtle energy really strong, really nourished. In Ayurveda, we would call this like really nourishing your ojas, right? This really beautiful sort of container that holds us, that grounds us, that sustains us, that gives us vitality and that gives us immunity. We really want to focus on doing and nurturing that. And one of the things that I like to say is that this is really an opportunity and an invitation to take your own medicine, to embody your own wisdom, right? Whenever, again, I'm faced with this, level up and all this overwhelm and all of these things, I'm thinking, okay, this is a real opportunity for me to embody what I teach and what I share to other people, what I'm coaching other people through, right? And sometimes I also want to name, I know that when we are in, you're a coach, you are a yoga teacher, you are a wellness professional, you are a Ayurvedic counselor, maybe, and you're watching this. And sometimes there's a level of shame, right? Around, dang, like, shouldn't I have this figured out by now? And I always go back into, no, absolutely not. This is an opportunity. We are human. We will always experience, we are not what's the word I'm looking for? We are not immune to the challenges of life, to the stress of life, to the overwhelm of life, but we have lots of tools in our arsenal. We have a deep level of self awareness. And these are the moments and the opportunities for us to really embody that wisdom and to really take our own medicine. So that's something that I always, always lean into. Now, it can be very important and helpful to understand what is the current state that your nervous system is in? Like, what is the state of your doshas? If you are not familiar with Ayurveda and the nervous system, or you're not familiar with how those two things connect and what your nervous system state would be or what your doshic state would be, I do have a free Ayurvedic nervous system quiz that I will drop in the description here that you can download. It's totally free. There will be a little quiz for you to find out what your Ayurvedic nervous system type is, and then some very simple practices and tools that you can do to create balance. Highly recommend that you go ahead and you download something like that. It will give you some very actionable steps to start implementing right away. Very simple, practices and rituals that you can do that are going to support your nervous system. So it is very important in this time that we are supporting our nervous system and that we're supporting it in alignment with the current state of our nervous system. Because oftentimes what happens and what I see a lot in the online space and why I'm very passionate about the work that I do is that there's oftentimes this one size fits all generic nervous system wisdom that is, out there, or you listen to an Andrew Huberman podcast. Love Andrew Huberman. He is incredible. And he's sharing like generic kind of one size fits all things. And when we understand the language of Ayurveda and polyvagal theory and somatics, we will have the self awareness and the wisdom to discern which of these practices would be nourishing for me based on where I'm at and based on where my nervous system is. So I'm a big believer that this is super important. So please go ahead, download that quiz and get that info and start taking on like even 1 to 2 of those practices every day to really just like root into your own self-care, to root into what is going to be nourishing and supportive for you. This is also a really beautiful invitation to be gentle with yourself, right? I'm someone who is very pitta in nature. I'm a pitta kapha, but I'm like very, very pitta. I am very driven. I am very ambitious. I have, oftentimes these very pitta perfectionist qualities. And I see this with all of my pitta clients. We are like, I'm going to be the best at healing, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be unrealistically healed. Like we just think that we can do everything and we could take on everything. And I want to name that this is an invitation and an opportunity for you to be gentle with yourself, for you to take rest if you need to. There's no shame in taking rest, even if you are building your business, even if you are in the midst of leveling up your skill set and you're doing a certification. Whatever it is, give yourself time to rest. Rest is actually medicine. Rest is actually productive. I will probably do a separate video on this, but I used to look at rest as unproductive and I would feel lazy and I would, have all of these judgments about myself if I would be resting. And over time and with wisdom and experience, I've learned no, one of the most productive things that we can often do is rest. And so I invite you to be gentle with yourself. I invite you to rest more. And I invite you to really use this as an opportunity to anchor deeper into your own self-care and also to not feel any level of shame in sharing with your clients or your students that, hey, like I'm right there with you. Sometimes too, I think we don't realize that students or clients might feel like, oh, she's got it all together, and maybe feel bad about themselves that, oh, dang, I don't have it as together as Stacy or Mel, or who, I don't know who Stacy is. I just made up that name. Um, but they might feel that they need to live up to some unrealistic expectation. And actually, you being authentic and sharing, hey, I'm going through it right now, is an invitation and an opportunity for them to be even more kind and gracious with themselves. So, as I am here, really going through my own stuff, really fighting some battles, I want to share really authentically with you what I'm doing to support myself through one of the toughest and most trying times of my life. And interestingly, what I want to name is that sometimes within Ayurveda and the personal development world and in the wellness space, when we think about self-care, maybe there's an idea of what that looks like. Maybe it looks like doing a yoga class, meditating, breath work, or in Ayurveda Abhyanga and doing these dinacharya rituals. Yes, that is a part of it. And for me, especially as someone who's very pitta, as I've named, and I can be very, perfectionisty, a huge part of my healing process has been exploring play and nourishing and nurturing my inner child and doing things without an agenda, doing things for the sake of doing them, doing things just for fun. And so this is something I've been exploring, right? Is doing things and doing more play and being more spontaneous and not having to be so like planned about things or structured about a, morning routine, and just doing and allowing and being without expectation. And one thing that's been really healing for me, that I've never had this experience actually before. I was always, an athlete and I liked to do things like do the drills, um, and I recently started learning to play the harmonium. And I have to tell you, for the first time in my life, I'm experiencing like I feel called to it. I think about it and I'm like, I want to play. And not to like perfect the notes, but to be in this sort of like self-led kirtan that I'm just doing by myself in my apartment. But it's amazing. And it's been so healing. And it's been, yeah, like this really beautiful part of my healing journey to just learn the basic chords and to just jam and play and sing mantras. This has been really, really beautiful and a really healing practice for me as well, as is, you know, chanting certain mantras and certain bhajans that I've learned from my teachers over the years. These have been song, which was never something, interestingly, that I really anchored into, has been something that has been very nourishing for me. And there's many reasons for that. We can go into that in a different video. Of course, song is really beautiful. It's fun. It's a creative expression, and creative expression lives in that ventral vagal state of the nervous system. But also from a science-based perspective, we are actually activating the vagus nerve when we chant or when we sing or when we hum. This is a really, physiological expression. And then from a subtle energetic perspective, whenever we're chanting mantras, or even if we're singing, a spiritual song or we're doing kirtan, there is a subtle energy that is present and a subtle energy that is shifting and nourishing us, right? And this is the beautiful wisdom of Ayurveda, where Ayurveda is known for thousands of years, that nourishing and healing the nervous system is not just physical. It's not just about somatics and shaking it out. It's not just about nourishing your body. It's not even just about abhyanga and, dinacharya. It's also these subtle energies, the way that the music cleanses and heals and supports your subtle energy, right? It recognized and has known for thousands of years that your subtle energy and your subtle body absolutely pervades the gross, the physical body. And there's absolutely a bidirectional communication between our subtle energy and our physiology and our subtle energy. And so there are these multidimensional ways that we can support and nourish the nervous system. And I'm having this really beautiful lived experience of how music and sound as a frequency is really deeply supporting and nourishing my nervous system. And it's really fun and it's play and it's something new that like I haven't done before. And also what I'm noticing, especially because this month in our integrative Ayurveda practitioner certification, we're talking about all about neuroscience and neuroplasticity. And it's really cool because I can actually see that my brain is making new neural connections and I can see how quickly it's learning the chords and it's learning the, different things. And what is also cool is there's a lot of research that talks about how learning new things and like learning music obviously creates new neural connections, but that act of learning something new is actually really deeply nourishing and supportive for the nervous system. It improves mental health. It improves, all sorts of different neurological functions in the brain. And it's something that your brain really likes. And so it's very cool that I'm witnessing in real time the real multidimensional nature of nervous system healing through something as simple as learning the harmonium. And this is the last thing I want to name. I feel like I'm going on a little ramble here, but I think it's really powerful to note is that when we do something as simple as, even I tell all of my clients, have warm water in the morning. Could be warm water with lemon, could be warm water with, some jeera or, some fennel. But I'll tell them to have warm water in the morning. And the cool thing about that is when we look at the science or we look at Ayurveda, it's not just like that one simple act of just having the warm water in the morning. Not only is it, flushing our system of toxins, it's also creating warmth in our body, which is calming vata dosha. It's also hydrating the body. There's so many things that it's doing, that it's supporting. It's not just this one thing. This one simple thing has a big impact on our body and on our physiology, on our mind, right? On our nervous system. So I always want to name that, whenever you take on one practice, sometimes we think that, oh, I'm just doing this one thing, especially if you're pitta, you might have a very all or nothing mentality where we think, oh, I don't just want to do this one thing. I want to do all the things. Well, actually, sometimes one thing is doing all the things, like learning the harmonium and playing an instrument and doing, that as a practice. So that is just something I want to name. Do not put pressure on yourself to feel like you need to do all the things or be some perfect wellness goddess. You can pick one thing, two things, anchor that in as a personal practice and pick something that brings you joy, right? Especially if you're going through something that is really, really challenging. All right, my dears, I hope that this was a helpful video for you. I know that this is something I've personally been going through. I know that I have all of those experiences of like shame and I should be totally healed and oh my goodness, I should have it all together as a, wellness professional in this space when I'm going through challenging times. And so I know that if I feel that way, maybe some of you feel that way. And so I want to normalize that for you. I want to give you some tips, as I just did, to support yourself through this. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, I would love for you to give it a like. If you enjoy the general vibe of what I share on this channel, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel or the podcast wherever you are listening. And I just want to thank you so much for being here and let you know that I will see you next week.